Guys, today I am here with someone who's going to help us all get a little bit smarter about scaling our businesses, being better content creators. I am here with the Adam Lyons. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks ever so much for having me.
It's great to have you here.
Thank
And
you.
I got to say, you are an incredibly confident person. Is that something like you've always been that way? Was there like baby Adam in the crib that is so overly confident, or was that something you developed?
Yeah, I literally was the most unconfident person growing up ever. And I was fascinated by this word confidence, and everyone was like, just be more confident, just be more confident. I was like, I don't know how to be more confident. And it all came clear to me when I learned to drive. I was so terrified the first time I got in a car, I crashed into our neighbor's car. And he was a very violent individual, so this was not a good scenario. It then took me 5 years before I'd get behind the wheel of a car again. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. When I eventually learned to drive, it was because my instructor explained to me, you don't become a confident driver by thinking about it. You only become a confident driver by being in bad situations and dealing with it. So they're like, I'm sorry you had that accident, but look at it this way, you now know what an accident's like. And so I realized that the true skill of being confident is actually just gaining more experience than anyone else. So I don't seek to make money, be successful, be famous. I seek to collect experiences. And the more experiences I gain, the more I know. And the more I know, the more confident I appear.
Wow. Okay, I've never heard anybody have their lives changed by a driver's ed instructor. I
Yep.
love that. And I'm suddenly looking back at my driver's ed instructor and thinking, man, I don't think I learned
Picked the
everything
wrong
I
one,
should've
yeah.
learned. Picked the wrong one. Tell me, what can the art of fencing and the art of getting your next date teach us about business?
Yeah, so I think one of the coolest things about people is once you learn success in one area, you can follow the clues that lead to success in other areas. So I've been blessed to be a fencing champion, internationally recognized in 2 different countries. And then after that, I became one of the world's leading dating experts. And from that, it becomes easier to become an expert in whatever else it is that you want to do because you know what it takes to become an expert in something. And so when I wanted to get good at running a business, I hired the best experts in the world to share with me their knowledge. I knew that it was going to take time and effort. I was going to fail more than anyone else. There's a great phrase, the master is the master only because they have failed more than the student has even attempted to succeed. And so, so I fail forward. I'm always, willing to risk it and get it wrong. And because of that, it's enabled me to succeed at a lot of different things in life simply because of that one component. So it's not really about fencing or dating or business or any of these other things. It's just about the fact that once you learn what it takes to be successful, you just follow that clue.
Oh, all right, I like that. And by following that, you've come up with your own methodology of S.M.A.R.T. Like, what is S.M.A.R.T, and how could like digital product producers who are watching this right now, how could they start applying that to their own businesses?
So I got involved in mergers and acquisitions, buying and selling businesses, and in doing so, we would find ourselves continually faced with the same problems that needed the same solutions. And rather than sitting down at the drawing board and redesigning it every single time, like, what are we going to do here? I know from fencing, from all the other things that I've done in my past, having a successful blueprint that you can just follow makes you get such a big head start that then if you have to deviate from it, it's that much easier, but at least you know this works. So we started creating our own internal document, and we called it the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint. And the idea was 5 different things that every business needs: staffing, marketing, an audience, like people that actually know you exist, some kind of revenue system, sales, that kind of thing, and then testimonials. There have to have been people that have done it, that liked it, that are willing to say, yes, this is real, for credibility. Well, we had these 5 components, and we built standard operating procedures around them. So when we'd go in and, we've consulted for 1,900 or more companies in the last 3 years. And we took the same blueprint and applied it to all of them to help them grow, succeed, or buy or sell their business, whatever it was. It didn't take long before people started saying, that thing that you're doing, can we get a copy of that? And so that's when we realized we had a duty to make the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint available to other people because there's only so many of us that we can help businesses directly.
All right, so again, it was staffing, staffing.
So staffing, marketing, an audience, revenue, and testimonials. You can think of it this way. Staff are the people that are going to do the company. Now, if you're a content creator, you're an entrepreneur, it might just be a person of one. You might be the only staff member. But if that's the case, it's funny, I just had one of the people that saw my talk here at Fire Festival ask me to take them through, what do you do if there's just one of you? I said, well, in that situation, you have to divide up your week, and on different times of day or different times of the week, you're different staff members. Because whether you like it or not, there are 6 roles that have to happen. You've got to do the visionary work, where you come up with the strategy, the operations work of organizing it and working out what needs to be done. Then you've got the marketing that needs to be done to find leads, the sales that needs to be done to bring the money in, technical work to build the website, upload the course, do the editing, whatever it is. And then lastly, you need financial. You got to make sure that your budget's met or that you're hitting revenue targets and what have you. So if you're a solo person, those 6 roles have to happen. So if you don't have staff, then it's you. But you want to divide it up. Otherwise, you'll end up doing the things you love and ignoring the other ones. And before you know it, you've got tax problems, or you have no leads, or you have no sales, or the website's never done.
You have to fire the version of yourself who works in accounting.
Right, exactly. And so what you do, actually, the goal is to fire yourself. The goal is to do all 6 roles and find the role you suck at and you hate, and that's the first person you hire. So you'll hire somebody for that specific role, and that's how you develop your staff. So the staffing component of the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint is work out what we have, work out what's missing, get somebody to fulfill the role in the meantime, while we find the replacement for the pieces we're weakest at, so they're no longer the weakest chain. That's the staffing component. And then marketing, how to find leads, how to do market research, how to make sure that you have an offer that actually crushes, that people want to buy. The audience, how do I find an audience? Do I get a bunch of followers, doing TikTok? Or do I borrow it? Can I find somebody who's got that audience, use theirs? In my case, can I buy a company that has an audience, which just tends to be how I do it. But we show all those strategies. And then in revenue, it's about selling, upselling, increasing the lifetime value. If somebody buys one program for you, they'll probably buy another and another and another. So it's mapping out all the different things we can be selling. And then lastly, testimonials. Everything you sell, there's got to be somebody out there, at least 3 people, that are like, this is great, I used it, it worked, it'll work for you too.
You're a great communicator. How can people out there connect better, maybe with their current audience, but then with a larger audience, when you're trying to expand their audience, that M part of things? How can they connect better with that audience, and then even when that audience is abroad?
I think when it comes to an audience and communicating with them, so many people get this wrong. They think, I want lots of followers. That's not what you want. You want the right followers that like what you have to say and are willing to give you money. This is why my audience that is considerably smaller than many, I think I probably have the smallest audience out of everybody here, and yet the revenue I make will be rivaling some of those at the highest level. The reason for that is my followers are all successful, are all business owners, and all understand that giving me $50,000 makes a lot of sense because I'm going to give them results. This is the real key to working out how to communicate. I'm not trying to communicate with the masses. I don't want 1 million people following me. I just want people following me that want to make lots of money and are actually going to do what I say. And then in terms, I love the compliment, thank you by the way, for saying I'm a good communicator. I actually don't think I'm a good communicator. I only ever talk about subjects I know very well. But when I went on stage, I was hanging out with Dan Fleischman beforehand, who's a buddy of mine, and both of us were saying, we never worry about what we're going to say on stage because we're both really good at what we do. I'm not making up stories and trying to remember them. I'm remembering things I did. I'm sharing actual results that we really got. I don't need to look at my slides to remember my numbers because I was there when we got them and I celebrated it. When you are truly authentic, there's no fear around communicating. Someone asks you a question, you give a real answer.
I like that. For selling abroad and marketing abroad, when you go past your own borders, people are looking to scale outside of their own country. How is it different? I know you've had experiences traveling around the world. You don't even speak the language, and you have to try to transmit knowledge to these people. what skills and tools do you need to be able to do that?
Yeah, so as an Englishman that's been successful in Africa and in America, I've learned that language is no longer a barrier. There's a really cool phrase, which is the world is flat. And I don't mean that the world is literally flat, but there's a book talking about the world has become flat, as in people are no longer invisible to each other. It's not like they're hidden on the other side of the globe. The world's flat in the sense that I can communicate with anybody on an even playing field, no matter where they are in the world. It's a really good book that talks about this concept, and it's true. You can build an audience in any country, and the only barrier to entry is communication. Can they understand what you're saying? I'm already seeing with Instagram, Reels, and TikTok that dance is an amazing method to transverse that, but that doesn't help you make sales. It doesn't help you actually promote your business. On the flip side, what can work is either partnering with somebody in that country that speaks the language, or hiring somebody in that country that speaks the language, hiring somebody in your own country that can translate into their language and make it work. Before I went live on Fire Festival on the Hotmart stage, I was the only English speaker that made a Portuguese post promoting my speech. In doing so, I've got tons of Portuguese people messaging me now, and I don't know how to speak Portuguese. I just wrote in Google Translate what I wanted to say, and then I'm not stupid enough to just post that. Instead, I sent it to a friend of mine that speaks Portuguese and said, hey, did I get this right? And they went, no. And they went, let me correct it. Now, this is really important because I didn't ask my friend to translate. That would have actually been asking them to do a big thing. I just asked them if what I had already done was correct. And now they're just tweaking it. And that's something people are far more happier to do. So if you take the time and you create, say, your 20 pieces of best content in whatever language it is that you speak, and then you take the time to translate those, and then find someone you know, like using an AI translator, then find someone you know who speaks the language, say, hey, I made these amazing videos. I'm trying to switch them into this other language. Would you mind looking over them? I don't mind buying you a meal or something. Just tell me if it makes sense. They don't have to be perfect. If there's anything that really needs correction, please take a screenshot, let me know, and I'll go and correct it. And I would say this is the $0 way of doing it. You know, like maybe I owe somebody a meal. But as a beginner, that's how I would handle it. At my point where I am, I just hire a translator or partner with somebody in the country.
Why did you decide to make S.M.A.R.T into an online course? Like you could have made it into a mastermind. You could have made it or you still can make it into a mastermind. You could have made it into an online paid community. You had why did you go with online course?
So actually, the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint, believe it or not, is all of those things. When we design any program, we always build the upsells because the lifetime value of a customer, kind of what I was talking about on stage at Fire Festival, is where the real value is. But you never start by offering the most expensive thing. So if I stood on stage and told everybody about my mastermind, it really wouldn't have done very good. Everyone would have just thought that I was unobtainable. So instead, the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint initiates with 4 products that you only see one after the other. The first, you go to thesmartblueprint.com, and a whole bunch of our standard operating procedures are free right there on the website. You don't need to give us your email, you don't need to opt in. You click on the link, you go, and they're all there. If you go through that and you think, man, you know what? I want to see this explained a bit more. I really want like some more depth to this. I want to hear other experts talk about the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint. You might want to buy the digital program. Now, the digital program is something we host with Hotmart. And the digital program has a bunch of experts from all over the world, people that have taught at Facebook. We've got ad creation, all these other cool things. And then somebody can pay for that. And that'll be the first thing they give us money for. After that, they might go, well, this was great, but I really want to talk to somebody. I want some feedback. That's where they join the mastermind. Now, in the mastermind, they can talk to other people going through the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint. They can interact with experts. They can talk to me directly, ask questions, and we help them. And then the next level above that is someone goes through that, they do all this, they implement it, they're making money. They're like, man, I want to do it again, but I don't want to do the work anymore. I want to do what I'm good at. I don't want to implement the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint. And then they can hire us and we'll do it because we know the process. And so now they can give us money directly, a much larger sum, but we'll do it for you.
So someone who's looking to set up like a sales ladder like that, which is great because you can meet people no matter where they are in their journey with your product, with you, Adam. So if they're just finding out who you are, they can get a free ebook, learn a little bit more, get more comfortable with your thoughts. Someone who's looking to set up a ladder like that, what is your recommendation? I've heard some people say it's like the Tesla model where you go at the top first and then you go down, or the Hershey Kiss model where it's like you start with the small things and then you work your way up? Where would you recommend someone start with that?
It's always best to start at the top, always. And you can just ask yourself, how many people are trying to model what Hershey's are doing as a business versus how many people wish they were Elon Musk? And it's pretty obvious. Here's the reason. When you initially start your business, you're going to struggle to find your first 10 customers. If those 10 customers give you $1 each, you're going to struggle to live. On the other hand, if you start at the top and you start by doing the highest level thing for the most amount of money, one customer will give you enough money for a month, 2 months, and give you the time to do it. So, for example, with the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint, one of the very first things we did was at the very highest level, let us do this in your company. And we reduced the fee from where it is today, but it was still a very large sum. And in fact, the initial S.M.A.R.T Blueprint people didn't even know they were in the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint. We didn't call it the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint. We just said, we want to make you more money. Let us do that for you. And so one of those companies or customers still to this day makes between $400,000 and $500,000 a month off of what we did for them. And we still get paid a fee because our initial fee was a percentage of what we bring. So we're still earning from that. But off of the case study of that, then we started defining it better and altering it and building from that.
Wow, and I'm sure you got a lot of tea from that testimonial.
It was pretty good, I can't lie.
For someone thinking about scaling internationally, we talked about them communicating with the audience, but you need a lot more tools too. What types of things should they look for in a platform to help them sell a little bit more internationally?
Yeah, I think a lot of people get caught up in thinking they need a lot of tools and technology. The only thing you really need, and we've done this a few times where we shrink everything down to see what is the bare minimum. You can get by with a payment processor and some kind of delivery system, which Hotmart provides, so that covers that. You need some kind of customer relationship manager, we call a CRM. There are many out there. You can do it on Excel. You don't need anything fancy, but we happen to like one called Pipedrive, which is like $10 a month. It's really not that expensive. And then the ability to communicate with emails, phone number, to be able to text, and that's about it. You don't even need a website, believe it or not. In fact, we've found some of our highest converting sales came from just sending somebody a link to a Google Doc.
You've kind of touched on this with some other things, but I just want to hit it home. This idea, a lot of people, they get obsessed with either this idea of I need more followers, or I need more leads. People are leads. Sometimes I even wonder if they know what it means after a while. These just become numbers. But you talk a lot about like leads versus lifetime value. How can you explain that to people in a way that's going to get them off the lead machine?
I had a friend who was a business owner, and he was a very good friend for many years. And one day he phones me up and he says, hey, I'm really stressed out. Do you have any books about how to handle stress? Because he knows I'm a prolific reader. And I said, yeah. I gave him some suggestions. I was like, but I mean, none of these books are going to remove the stress. They're just going to help you deal with it. What's going on, man? And he said, well, I have two companies. One of my companies, I just found out it's been losing money for 2 years and no one told me. My employees have hid it from me. It does about $70 million a year, and I'm really freaking out. And he's like, whenever I tell anyone my company makes $70 million a year, they tell me, oh, you got nothing to worry about. And he's like, but I'm losing money. It doesn't matter how much you make. I'm losing to keep it. And he goes, I don't want to get rid of it. It's making $70 million, but it's got to get fixed and tidied up. I was like, I'll do it. And he says to me, you? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll fix it for you. And he's like, how would that even work? I was like, I'm really smart. I've worked in a lot of different companies. Let me come in and fix it. And he goes, how do we do it? I was like, well, look, I don't want you to jump in a big way. Why don't you just pay me for a day? I'd charge you this much as a friend. Fly me to where you live, because we live in different states, and let me walk into the company and see what I can do. One day. If I can't fix it, I'll give you the money back. If I can fix it, I'll tell you everything I would do. And if you want to keep me on, do it. And he said, you know what? Fair enough, I've paid a lot more and got a lot less. So he gave me $10,000 for a day of work. So I fly to his office, and on the first day I walk in, and I just keep my eyes open and look around. And I walk through the office into a private meeting room where he sits there and he's like, dude, it's so good to see you. I really hope you can help. I've got no experience of fixing a $70 million company at this point, but my friend was stressed. He's just a friend, you know? So he brings in his COO, and the COO looks at me like I'm some idiot, you know? And he's like, look, let me explain how this works, buddy. And he says to me, we have a bunch of clients, but one client's really big and it makes up 40% of our revenue. And they are constantly upset and constantly stressed. Now that makes $30 million a year. I doubt you're gonna be able to do anything about them. And I just looked at him and I said, the lady in the room we just walked through, 3 desks in on the left, she's their account manager, right? And he looks at me and says, yeah. And my friend says, how did you know that? And I said, well, when I went through the office, everyone else had 0 to 2 voicemails on their machine, but she had 1,786. Feels like if you ignored 1,786 voice messages, that client would be kind of unhappy. And my owner, my buddy, looks at the COO and says, how comes you never saw that before? And he's like, And my friend says, get out of the office. Kick the COO out. And he said, how did you tell? I was like, I just came in with fresh eyes. There's a few things I've already seen. It's like, number one, your COO's got to go because he should have seen it. Off the back of that, they hired me for $15,000 a month to be a remote client. I fly in once a month. This started 5 years ago. I still do this for that client. And while I'd helped businesses before, never anything that was doing 70 million or up. Everything up to then had been like a few million. From that point on, I've now worked with companies that are bigger, but it was all off the back of that one person and me being confident enough to say, let me help, let me give it a go. If I fail, you can have the money back and we'll go for it. So for somebody who's watching at home right now, you have friends that are business owners and they have struggles. Don't try and sell to them. Don't try and get a lead. Just help them. Because if you help them out with one big problem, they will absolutely be willing to pay you for that. And that case study, that testimonial is worth its weight in gold. Before him, like I said, I was capped. I could never do more than a company doing maybe 8 million, 9 million. But at this point, any size company will look at me because of what I've done. So you want a lot of leads? Or you want one lead that will pay you $15,000 a month to work 1 day a month?
Love it. That was a great example. Taking care of and providing value. Finding solutions to the problems that people have and providing value for them. I love it. That was great.
Thanks.
Let's go to rapid fire questions. There's nothing wrong here. Just brainstorm it out. Let's go. Types of companies that interest you the most.
The ones I'm typically interested in are ones that I've got a lot of experience in. So I like working with experts. If you're an expert at what you do, you're exactly the kind of company that I want to work with. I try and get people to shift away from coaches and move into experts because experts can command more money. As a coach, you're going to charge by the hour. As an expert, people will give you almost an unlimited amount of funding. So that's my favorite.
Biggest error you see content creators making when they're trying to monetize their content?
The hardest thing the biggest mistake that content creators make when they're trying to monetize their money is they don't start with monetization. You really want to think about money from the beginning. Don't think about getting an audience first, think about making money first. And the easiest way to do that is to create something that people want to buy right off the bat. And when you talk, always reference that thing and tell people where they can go and find it.
What has helped you more, what you know or who you know?
That's such an interesting question. Neither one of those has helped me more. What has helped me more has been paying very successful people any amount of money that I can find to spend time with them to learn what they know. From that, I can then use their knowledge to do what every successful person wants, and that's clone them. So I become a worse version of who they are, but give them the ability to alleviate their workload onto me, and they are always willing to pay for that.
Fantastic. Best way for someone to hone their communication skills?
Without a doubt, the best way to hone your communication skills is to focus on being good at what you do. You have to know it inside and out. And that's why I'm such a big fan of, like I said, hire the best people in the world to share what they know. Anybody will work if you're willing to pay them. And if they see you're actually using what they share, they will love you.
Is Ryan Holiday a good neighbor?
Ryan Holiday's a great neighbor. We barely hear from him because he's mostly an introvert and likes to keep to himself. So
He's very stoic.
he is very stoic.
Best film sword fight.
Oh my gosh. There are a number of very good sword fights in movies. The ones that spring to mind that people should watch, there's an incredible film called Le Bossu. It's a French film. They shifted it in English and called it On Guard. It's a completely French film. The sword fighting in that movie is impeccable. It's actually so good. The entire movie is about a specific method of sword fighting, and it dives deep over a 3-act structure. It's beautiful. And of course, there's an incredible sword fight in The Princess Bride, which everyone knows, which is a classic. But another one that's worth watching is a movie called By the Sword, which is about 2 fencing masters, and they duel, and the duel is very real. They train together, and you see them spar, and then later on they have a real fight that turns nasty, and you see power and strength inside technical fencing, which is really interesting to watch.
Nice, I gotta write these down. Best advice that you didn't follow.
Man, that's such a tough one. I literally follow all the advice I'm given because I grew up so poor that good advice was very hard to come by. So the minute I started getting smart advice from people, I really listened to it. The only time that comes to mind, and I'm actually glad I didn't follow it, is I had a friend who was an investor and a stock trader. And I wanted help trading because I figured that would be a way to learn to make money. It was not, but it was interesting. And I really wanted someone to teach me how to do it. And instead, this guy just walked past me and told me the name of a stock. And months later, that stock like 10x'd. And I didn't put any money on it, and I didn't do it. And then he got arrested for 5 years for insider trading. So I'm kind of glad I didn't do it. But yeah, that always goes down as a weird one for me.
A company that you wish you had gotten equity in 10 years ago.
Man, there are so many companies that I wish I'd got equity in. At one point, I knew Netflix was going to blow up, and I, for whatever reason, didn't do it. There were some other companies like that I saw that were going to do really, really big. But I think a good one is actually Hotmart. I really believe in what Hotmart's doing, and I am an active investor. And I missed it first time around just because I didn't know it existed. And at this point, I'm now just going to wait for the IPO and get involved.
Hotmart is all about helping people living their passions. It's part of the mission statement of Hotmart, to help people live their passions. 5 years from now, if people say, that Adam Lyons, that's a man living his passions, what does that look like?
It's so funny. I gave a speech about this 3 years ago to my own mastermind. We were on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. The sun was rising, and I'm there with 17 people that woke up early with me. The mastermind people that wanted to get early. They know on my mastermind, everyone knows you get up early in the morning. Adam wakes up at 4 a.m. and you get private quality time with Adam. And I said to him, "This is it." And they're like, "What do you mean this is it?" I was like, "This is it. It's never about a destination. When you get to the destination, you will wonder, well, what's next? It's actually about the journey." And what I did was many years ago, I decided what kind of journey I wanted to go on. And I said to him, likewise, right now, we're on a cruise ship heading to St. Kitts together. When we arrive at St. Kitts, we will enjoy that moment, and then we will already be thinking about where we're going next. If we do that, we miss the main part of this journey, which is right here, sitting, having an amazing breakfast with a beautiful sunrise, surrounded by smart people that we all care about, and every single one of us has more than enough money to come on this week-long vacation where we can brainstorm and build our businesses. This is the journey, and we already made it. There is nowhere to go beyond here, just to continue this journey. So likewise, many years ago, I bought the plot of land that I'm going to live on for the rest of my life, 43 acres. I have 5 children. I live with the woman that I'm marrying next year after being together with her for 10 years. I own 16 companies that are continually growing. I invest in real estate. My portfolio is continually growing. I have no plan to destroy any of that to rebuild something else, or to find something new. Everything's great. I just want it to continue growing and building and enjoying every single day, watching the smile on my children's face and helping others achieve their dreams. I am where I want to be. I am already living my heaven, and I want to live that for as long as possible. In doing so, I enjoy helping other people find theirs.
Adam, I'm so glad that part of your journey has brought you to Brazil, and we
too.
got to share some time together. This interview was great. I hope that everybody who's on their own journey right now is able to implement Adam's advice into their own businesses and life. Thank you so much, Adam. It was great.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, Roger.